Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to askNK. Today we're taking a look at Gimp version 3.0. This is the first major release of this open source image editing and retouching tool after about 7 years. And it's quite interesting to see how far this tool has come. Developed as a student project sometime in 1995, this tool has evolved into a powerful alternative to commercial image editors like Photoshop and so on. And this is a powerful and free open source raster graphic editor used in tasks such as retouching, image compositing, and image authoring. And version 3.0 now comes with a couple of interesting features. And the first one, which you would notice right out of the bat, is the user interface, as you can easily change the theme of your overall UI. Possibly you like it to be a bit more brighter, you want it to be grayish, or maybe fully dark. You can actually go ahead and play with this. The same thing is said for the icons. You can also change the icon themes, and in this case we've got the legacy and the new one as well. And the user interface has been updated to support the Wayland on Linux, and improved HIDPI handling provides a more responsive and visually consistent experience across different displays. And it's also interesting to see that there is a full enhancement to this overall user interface that has support for modern display technologies. And for those working with tablet devices, there is now an enhancement to tablet device, as this now supports various graphic tablets and touch input devices, which in turn offers a more intuitive and precise editing experience. One very cool feature which is also available with Gimp version 3 is its non-destructive editing. And this is huge. Unlike the previous versions, which every single time once you make an edit and you add a filter, the filter gets merged with the main image. But the editable filter now makes it very easy for you to work with filters non-destructively, as you can preview your filters in real time and make flexible and adjustable updates to your overall image without any permanent alteration. Like in this case where we have a simple hue and saturation on our image, we can simply get back to the filter by going over to where we have the effects, click, and you will notice that as much effects that we throw in here, or as much effects or filters that we throw in here, we can actually see them. If we like to make edits to these filters again, we can easily double click and we can proceed to make the changes that we want directly here. And of course you would notice that this automatically updates as we make these changes, and once you're done you can click on OK and you'll be able to have that right here. It's also worth mentioning that you can turn off all the filters if you want, and you can turn on just the specific ones that you want to work with depending on the number of filters that you have right here. And still speaking about filters, if you like to work with a non-destructive filter, say for example you like to throw in a bit of mask, you can now do this with Gimp. So in this case what we're going to do is to create a simple layer group, and once we do that we can now create an empty layer. The empty layer will reside under the layer group, and from there we would have to change the blending mode to pass through. And once you do this, you can now proceed to launch the search action and search for the relevant filter that you want to work with. In this case, we just want to throw in the adjustment layer for hue and saturation, and we're going to adjust the colors just a bit. And once we have that, we can click on OK, and we can now have that stored inside the layer group. Now, how you can start doing the masking is pretty simple. Say for example, like to mask the eye. To get those colors back, what we can do is have the layer group selected, and we can simply go all the way down and select the mask. Now we'd like to throw in a white mask, which is a full opacity, and we can launch the paintbrush by pressing P on the keyboard to start painting. In this case, we're just going to reduce the size of this, and we're going to paint just the eyes to get back the colors of the eye for the monkey. Now once we have that sorted, we can now proceed to do every other paint job that I would like to do across the image overall. Now something else which is also very interesting to note, you can throw in as many effects or adjustments as you want and store all of them inside the layer group. This is one way to keep things organized if you like to use the same mask across all filters. Users can now have a better experience when working with text, as this now allows users to better see the fonts through bold and italics when these have been applied, rather than just relying on the previous implementation that dealt with the Fox version. And in terms of usability improvement, there's a couple of interesting things that are now here, from layer locking, which simply allows users to be able to lock the pixels, lock the position and size, lock visibility, and also lock the alpha channel. So if you're thinking about locking any of these, you can now easily do those. Gimp version 3 also supports multiple layer selection. So if you like to select multiple layers, you can now hold down Ctrl key and select all of them. The same thing can be said for channels as well. So you can select multiple channels as well. And if you do have multiple paths, you can also go ahead and have those selected. And it is pretty interesting to see all of these updates make their way to Gimp. Users can now organize their layers with the brand new layer set feature. Layer management is also another interesting update that is now available. There's also some interesting updates to the file management and color management, as Gimp 3.0 now introduces support for additional file formats, which includes the BC7DDS, improved PSD export, and many other enhancing capabilities with various applications. And in addition to the image file format and support that is also available, Gimp also supports older file formats that include the DCX, PAM, and WBMP. And these, alongside some new formats which includes the QOI and JPEG XL, are available for users. And for color management, there's an improvement to the color management which ensures more accurate color representation and consistency across different devices and platforms. And this is really good because in terms of printing, these would actually have the same color information that you have. And all thanks to the new integration with Babel and also the GEGL library, Gimp now has a more extensive support for RGB color spaces beyond sRGB, which now allows you to retain all aspects of the color information that you've got right inside of Gimp. So you can make whatever edits that you want without losing the color space information. And this update simply lays the groundwork for future CMYK and lab image color modes. And across the whole Gimp system, there's an improved support for any RGB spaces, and this can be found within the background and foreground color selection dialog, the color dockable window, the color picker information window, and every single place you get to find color inside of Gimp. Color simulation and also proofing has also been improved in a variety of ways, which is now super impressive. And something else for the color management is Gimp also includes the proprietary format of Adobe Color Book and Adobe Swatch Exchange, as well as the open source Swatch Booker palette. As the result of a color space inversion, this also improves support for loading palettes in the CIE Lab color model. Gimp version 3.0 now includes a new experimental selection, and this is called the Paint Select. This tool allows artists to use the paintbrush to progressively select an object or area in an image. And as good as this feature sounds, this still has a bit of stability issues, which the folks at Gimp have also reported as well. There's also updates to the API which developers would definitely find super useful. And for workflow and shortcuts, copying and pasting now creates a new layer by default. Floating layers can still be created by using the paste as floating data option if you find that useful. The search menu results now shows the menu location, just in case you're trying to find the action by going through the menus. Brush dynamics can now be turned off via the enable dynamics check button in the tool options rather than having to search for the dynamic off button in the list. Right and middle click actions can now easily be customized, and you can find all of those modifiers if you go over to Edit, Preference, Canvas Interaction, and Modifiers. And of course, there is a whole lot of things that are currently available for Gimp, and for those who would like to read up on all of this, then you can simply go over to the link in the description and check this out. It is quite interesting to see that this open source tool, which is currently available, now supports some significant improvement and allows artists to get the most out of it. And if you'd like to read up on the release note, then links to this is going to be in the description, so do well to check it out. And of course, if you'd like to download Gimp, or possibly you'd like to support them, then you can simply come through and give them your support. Tell me what you guys think about this one in the comment section, and of course, if you like this video or you learned something from this, you can go ahead and give a like, and don't forget to share with a friend. And until I see you guys in the next one, peace.